have a message up on that other screen. If that matters.
Now we can start. Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, Siva. All right, welcome to the Natomas Charter School Board of Directors meeting for October. I'll call us to order at 5:32. And I know I need a roll call vote. Dr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Nita?
Yes.
Sean King?
Yes.
Gina?
Here.
Arsenio?
Yes.
Dr. Mayorado?
Yes.
Preeti?
Is on her way. She'll be joining us maybe during closed session.
Okay, Jennifer, I'm here. Mallory?
Here.
Okay, do we have new student liaisons for tonight?
No.
Some of them are just listed on that.
Okay, I have an old agenda, so I'll get to the new one. All right, Amir,
No, I brought mine.
Marley.
Here.
Okay, is it Zephyr?
Yeah.
Awesome. Raven?
Here.
Okay, and then Vian?
Yeah, here.
All right, welcome guys. Give me one second, this iPad isn't complying with my,
Yeah, they're a little slow.
you meant the iPad, right? Thank you.
It must be tiny.
No, it should be
Something like that. All right, first item on the agenda, recognitions and celebrations.
It's always exciting to start our board meeting with some recognitions and celebrations. So tonight, as we kick off the October board meeting, I'd like to invite Mallory up. We would like to recognize and celebrate Mallory. So we've been all extremely fortunate to have Mallory as our non-site based parent representative overseeing PACT and ECA over the last term. So we have a little token of our appreciation if you want to go ahead and open it and show everyone. I saw that look of like, do I really have to? Yes, you really have to. Yeah.
Aw, thank you guys.
So we have a little thank you for Mallory for being on our board, and we really appreciate having you as part of our community. And I think it's even more exciting that you've been a former student of ours as well. So it's really awesome.
Now work it a little bit.
So anyway, so thank you for your service. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you'll continue to be part of our community in
Yes.
a myriad of different ways.
I'll be
Thank
around.
you. Yeah, yeah. All right, so we give Mallory a thank you.
I'll put it back.
Got it?
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take
All right,
this
there you
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Holmes, you, Preeti here.
Thank you.
All right, student information update. First up on our list is Early College Academy. Amir.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Amir. I'm representing ECA. So to start my presentation, I'm gonna have to start a little later from late September. Homecoming week went really well, consisted of Spirit Week and our big NCS-wide events, such as the Homecoming Rally, Charter Bowl, Float Parade, and Homecoming Dance. And this year, ECA students participated in Homecoming Parade with their graduating class with PFA, in collaboration with PFA. 11th graders won the day with their Beauty and the Beast performance and float. And now we're on October. October was the end of our first quarter. October 4th was the end of our first quarter, and October 7th through the 14th was our fall break. October 15th through October 18th was Digital Citizenship Week. In advisory classes, ECA students had some discussions about digital citizenship and how to have an online presence in a healthy way. This week is Red Ribbon Week, which focuses on the importance of living a drug-free life. Today and in all of our advisory classes, we're going over those videos and how to stay drug free and what the effects of if you are using such substances are. There's also a fundraising thing, I believe, with the counselors between both ECA and PFA. When you there's a wristband that you're gonna get at tomorrow and Thursday. And if you answer a few questions from the videos that we're showing in our advisory classes, then you will get a few prizes. Next week is our Halloween Spirit Week. The Spirit Days for ECA are Monochrome Monday, Twin Tuesday, Dress Your Grade Wednesday, Halloween Costume Day on Thursday, and College Friday. This week, that week will be a competition for ECA grade levels. There will be competitions for each day, for each dress-up day, and there's also going to be a game night on Thursday and a costume contest during that lunch as well.
All right, next up, Leading Edge, Marley.
Good evening, everyone. Today we will talk about our school culture, our recent events, and our academics and leading edge. So to start off, our first ASB Spirit Week had passed in the end of September. I'm not sure what we did because it was very last minute, as so was our dance, unfortunately. We would definitely put more thought into the second one. Yes. We had our first rock celebration, and for rock, Leading Edge has a new set of expectations. Last year was Edge, this year is rock. Rock is basically a set of expectations. Rock has things that the letters stand for. Oh, see right here. Great presentation. I put this right here. So we have our responsibility. That has R, O, ownership, C, collaboration, and K for kindness. This is what we go by, and we get rock tickets whenever we are noticed or we are seen doing one of these great expectations. We had our first celebration, and what that consisted of, we had our, everyone each week gets called up to the office, and we get a prize from the raffle box. Well, no, our tickets get taken out of the raffle box and we go up to the office for a prize, and it's just for being a good citizen around the school. We had our first dance, Masquerade Ball was the theme. It was on October 4th, and it was a really good turnout. Again, a little rushed, not that many people, but the second dance, I promise you guys will hear better things. We had our first rock breakfast, and we had these rock buns. Shared them with the staff. They said it was pretty good as well. I hope they meant that. But it was really good. It was chocolate. There's chocolate chips. Lots of students came, mostly 6th graders and 7th graders, 3 8th graders. So we got to get our 8th graders to do better on campus, I see. Yearbook sales have opened, and that means we have taken our school pictures and we have had openings for people getting yearbooks, so we don't have to rush and get them out towards the end of the school year. Our recent events, Suicide Prevention Week has taken place. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we went out to the lunch and we were able to make bracelets and talk about anything you wanted to get off your chest with Mr. Tony and Dr. Lockteff. It was a really nice thing. That took place September 11th through 15th. We had Leading Edge Picture Day on October 2nd, and lots of people came dressing their best. I wore a little dress, had to get a little fancy. We had our first BSU mixer, which was a very bigger turnout than last year, and I'd like to thank whoever came. I don't see any, I see some faces, but whoever came, I'm really thankful. We took a lot of planning. That took a lot of effort to get out the word. We reached our biggest goal, and we got all our RSVPs and more. Very, very scrunched up space. Gotta, make a bigger space next time. We have Back to School Night, August 22nd. It was a really good turnout. Lots of parents came. Lots of families came. Then we had our Jogathon, September 30th through October 4th. Jogathon is basically nice fundraiser for PE and also equipment things for Leading Edge, Leading Edge and PFAA. We need new nets. We need better equipment for PE so that we can achieve more things. And then for Leading Edge sports, we had volleyball, flag football. We made it to the championship, but we kind of fumbled it at the end. Both flag football and volleyball lost, unfortunately. We had cross country got a win for us. They won. We had a first place and then a second place in Leading Edge. We had a second place in PFAA. And then for our parent conferences, we had minimum days from September 23rd to 27th. And for academic proportion, we have our first Spanish final for 7th and 8th graders. Spanish has a really big part of Leading Edge because it's one of our extracurricular things. And it helps a lot of kids get out of their comfort zone and learn different things. 7th grade is learning Spanish 1 and 8th grade is learning Spanish 1B. Math tutoring study hall, the second session of math tutoring is starting right now this week. And we had portfolio workshop and also progress reports went out on September 20th. And that will close out my presentation.
All right, next up, PFAA Zaker.
Okay, first up, the 1st of October, we had the Natomas Unified School District Board Forum. Then the 2nd, we had Visual Arts and Spanish Field Trip. They worked together to make this field trip possible. I went, it was very fun, to the Mission District. The 2nd, we also had Picture Day retakes. The 3rd, we had Black Student Union Family Mixer. The 7th through the 11th was fall break. The 17th, we had a 6th grade field trip. The 18th, we had an audio tech field trip to ARC. The 18th, we also had the P4A Fall Carnival, drama department fundraised, and that was fun. The 18th, I forgot to put it up there, but we also had an assembly recognizing student of the quarters. The 19th, the dance department had their car wash fundraiser. The week of the 21st, starting today, was Red Ribbon Week. The 24th, She Kills Monsters is opening. The 25th, Arrive Alive Assembly for the upperclassmen. Also the 25th, the 24th is Student Rush, and then the 25th is the official opening for She Kills Monsters. The 30th is the PSATs. The 30th, we also have the Day of the Dead lunchtime performance with Spanish and ballet. The 31st is the SATs, and the 1st of November is the middle school dance.
Can I put you on the spot real quick before we clap?
Yes.
Can you tell me about the Arrive Alive Assembly? If you know about it, it's okay if you don't.
In ASB, we were discussing it, and it's about kind of safety of driving and distracted driving and like substance-free driving, or yeah.
Okay, great to hear. Really important stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Raven for PACT.
Hello, nice to see you again. My name is Raven Young, and I'm the student representative for PACT Academy. This past month was a busy one, so let's get into it. On September 10th, PACT Chipotle fundraiser was a successful event. Many people used the mobile code to get a discount on their food. It was very yummy. On September 13th was the PACT fencing field trip and the PACT Sack Adventure field trip. Students had a blast learning how to fence, and after they did, they got to play in the mud at the Sack Adventure field trip. Everybody was very muddy and very excited, and they're all running around building stuff and playing in trees. On September 17th, PACT held a parent coffee talk on topic of getting your homeschool year started. All the parents got to just sit around with local parents and talk about getting your homeschool year started and saying the expectations that they have for the kids to their advisors. On September 17th was the PACT Family Night Renaissance Fair from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Families had a blast playing games, eating food, and dressing up as Renaissance people. On September 30th, PACT hosted an online readathon. On September 30th through October 4th was second quarter workshop Add or Drop days. On October 2nd was the middle school social for 5th through 8th graders. Middle schoolers were able to sing, karaoke, and play games with their peers. It was very fun. I attended and I had a blast. On October 4th was the California Museum field trip. Students were able to tour the California Museum. As we know, October 7th through 11th was NCS fall break. Thank you for listening.
All right, and finally, we have Van with our Star Academy update.
Hi, Natomas Charter Board members. My name is Van Vish, and I am a 5th grader at Star Academy. And I am excited to share our school's updates for September and October. First up, we started fall enrichment classes on September 9th. Some of the classes available are chess, soccer, art club, yoga, embroidery, candle making, pottery, fall garden club, dance class, glow girls, math olympiad, origami, video design, baking class, and chess club. These classes are extremely fun and interesting. Also, we had Family STEAM Night on September 19th. Students were interested and happy in all the games and activities we set up. Some of the students' favorites were Mrs. Strazzo's Dry Ice Experiment and the Egg Drop event. Additionally, we had Fall Picture Day on September 20th. The students showed up in a wonderful attire, and one particular student forgot about picture day. Next, we have Jogathon, also known as Superhero Sprint. It was held on September 25th, and students raced to get as many laps as they could. Volunteers were dressed up as superheroes and gave high fives. A true event, Captain Pickles gave out free pickles which you can run with, and they were inflatable pickles. Another important event we had was Night at the Kings on September 27th. The students memorized a really good dance, and tryouts were held to determine who will be performing in December. A special event we had outside of school was meeting up for the 4th grade teachers and students movie theater for the Wild Robot movie. We read The Wild Robot, and when we were 4th graders, and we loved it. Even though we're in 5th grade now, it was really fun to catch up with our old teachers and watch the movie. The TKers had their first field trip. They went to Dave's Pumpkin Patch on October 3rd, and the students got to pick out their own pumpkins and had tons of fun. To be honest, the TK students were really cute. We also had International Walk to School Day on October 3rd. We had another DJ on campus and a dance party before school. Finally, we had specials. In MAPA, we learned about tempo and 5th grade. TK and kindergarten performed songs at the PBIS assembly. In case you forgot, PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, and MAPA stands for Music and Performing Arts. In Spanish, we are learning about Day of the Dead, also known as Dia de los Muertos. We are also learning how to make papel picado. In library, we are learning about genres, and the key genre this year is science fiction. In PE, we are doing a volleyball unit. Thank you for listening to my Star Academy update. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Excellent, as always, thank you all. You are more than welcome to stay, or you can go and do all of that homework. Or go watch football or the World Series, or do nothing, it's up to you. Hearing of the public for items on the closed session agenda.
Nothing received before online.
Okay. All right, at this point, I will adjourn to closed session to consider and or take action upon any of the following: public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54954.2. Administrative representatives, Dr. Joe Wood. 551. All right, I will reconvene open session at 6:36. No action taken during closed session. Tonight's agenda. Comments, questions? Okay, I got nothing. May I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll motion.
I second. You guys are fast tonight. I love it. All right,
I'm
Dr.
sorry, I
Gaffney.
pitched the motion.
The motion to approve tonight's agenda, Valerie.
I'm still able to motion, right?
Yes, you are.
For less. We'll give it all to you until a certain time.
And Nita with the second?
Nope.
No,
Maria with the
Dr.
second.
Marrero.
I'd also like to state for the record, we reconvened open session at 6:36 a.m. or p.m.
Feels like AM.
Where's the call? All right, Dr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Nita, yes. Sean,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
Arsenio,
Yes.
Dr. Mirabella.
Yes.
Preeti,
Yes.
Jennifer, yes. Mallory,
Yes.
okay. Next up, consent items. Okay, may I have a motion to approve tonight's consent items?
I'll motion.
All right, Mallory, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh. Took it out.
I'll give it to Doug.
All right, back to the next one.
All right, roll call vote, Mallory.
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Preeti.
Yes.
Dr. Mirabella.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Gina.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Nita.
Yes.
Dr. Gaffney.
Yes.
This is an example of efficiency, folks. All right, action items. 2024-2025 transitional kindergarten waiver from Laura.
All righty. So with the advent of the transitional kindergarten, teachers are required to have additional education and or experience in order to teach transitional kindergarten. And so with the pool of educators being small as it is, the one thing that a lot of districts have been doing is providing an opportunity for teachers to qualify as a transitional kindergarten teacher by having experience working with preschool age students. And so this is a waiver that we've taken. I talked to a bunch of people all over, worked with the Sac County Office of Education to develop it, and then Natomas Unified has approved of it. But what it does is it allows us to utilize people's experience working with the preschool students to meet the requirement for an additional 24 childhood education units.
The second paragraph, is the date correct?
Oh, it says 23. Yes, that's the legal requirement, is when that started.
Okay. Oh, okay, all
Like
right.
that's the legal
That's-
requirement for
gotcha, all right.
TK teachers and the credentialing.
Okay.
Yes. So starting in 2023, you had to have that requirement. And then, and then what we found is that there aren't a lot of teachers that have that, those exact credits, even though they've taken other early childhood education credits. So we're not going to need to use this with our current teacher, but I wanted to have it in place in case. And we started this when we were still missing a TK teacher. So it broadens your pool of candidates.
I do want to provide one clarification,
Mhm.
and board member Mataka brought this up earlier. So between when Laura and I put this together and today, the legislature did amend August 1st, 2023 to be August 1st, 2025.
Okay, that's why I was confused from
So-
our.
Oh, yeah.
Surprise.
Because we have to finish this weeks ahead of time. Yeah, so I guess I finished this.
So I mean,
probably
we do
in
technically
August.
have a little bit more time, but I think we still need to go ahead and have it
Sure.
in place for auditors and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And like I said, our current teacher has the ECE units, but we never know.
Works for me. Any questions from the board? May I have a motion to approve? Wait, I'm sorry, are you done? I heard at 6:30 in the morning, I'm trying to get us going.
I'm ready for breakfast, so.
Thank you, Laura. May I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 transitional kindergarten waiver?
So moved.
I'll second. Thank you.
I'll take this one.
All right, roll call vote, Preeti.
Yes.
Dr. Mayorado.
Yes.
What's your name?
Nita.
Valerie.
Yes.
Jennifer, yes. Dr. Gasser.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What's up next? Anita with the
Yes.
Arts and Music Prop 28 annual report.
So in November of 2022, California voters had passed Prop 28, which was to provide arts and music instruction funds to all schools. And we got our first apportionment last year in 23-24. And you approved a plan, an expenditure plan last year as well. So required annually will be this annual report that we'll do. And so we were one of the few schools that started this implementation early. So last year during 23-24, we had one period that we added on for PFAA. It was called Instructional Music Instructions, Level 1 and 2, to offer another ninth period class options for school. And so we had a teacher that was less than full-time that took on an extra period for this time. And so it was a blended class of level 1 and 2 for there. So we were able to serve 23 students in one class for during next year. As we roll into this year, we have expanded our offerings. And so I guess that next October or September of 25, I'll be giving you a lot more details as far as the program. But this one is the one class that we added because we wanted to provide more variety for the ninth grade in music instruction.
Sure.
Is this the one where the older students tutor the younger students?
Yes, yes.
Right.
That's part of the class, yes.
Part of the class,
Yes. And then the older students who are providing the instruction are also getting the coaching and mentoring for instruction on how to be a teacher.
Any other questions? Okay, may I have a motion? Go ahead.
I'll motion.
All right, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Mallory.
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Preeti.
Yes.
Dr. Mayoralda.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Gina.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Nita.
Yes.
Dr. Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Wood, community rep term renewals.
So yes, so October is the time of year when we renew terms here on the Board of Directors. And so the first action item that we have for the board tonight is to renew Gina Lee and Jennifer Morgan's community representative terms. So these terms would take effect October 2024 through October 2026. Neither of you can vote on this one.
Should I?
Just close your eyes.
Right, do you want to something? All right, let's see, may I have a motion for the approval of the Board of Directors Community Rep term renewals?
I'll motion.
I'll say.
Thank you, roll call vote, Preeti.
Yes.
Maria.
Yes.
Nita.
Yes.
Mallory.
Yes.
Jennifer, I abstain. Doug.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Gina.
I abstain.
Thank you.
So the next one we have for this evening is approval of the Board of Directors non-site-based parent representative. So this is the parent representative for PAC and ECA. Earlier this year, or in September, the appointment committee met and interviewed applicants for this open position. And the appointment committee is recommending that Doug Gaffney become the non-site-based parent representative over for PAC and ECA for the next 2 years.
May I have a motion to approve Dr. Gaffney?
Well, I
There. Close your eyes. Nobody's duking out for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Gina. All right, roll call vote, Gina.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
You can't vote.
I'll go on next one.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Mallory.
Yes.
Nita. Yes. Dr. Murala.
Overwhelming, yes.
Preeti.
Yes. I have Gina as the second, but who made the motion? Mallory did.
No,
No,
Maria.
Maria was the motion, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, got it, okay. Okay, let's do another one because that was fun.
All right. So this one is approving the approval of a site-based parent representative for the Performing and Fine Arts Academy. Similar to the one we just talked about with Dr. Gaffney, the appointment committee met on September 19th and interviewed applicants for this open position. The appointment committee is recommending Justin Garrett, who's a PFA parent, to this particular position, which also would be a 2-year position, October 24th to October 26th.
All right, may I have a motion to approve Justin?
I motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll send it.
There you go.
You get you back in again. So you just hold on up.
Can I?
Now, for clarification, Mallory
She can vote this one.
can vote for the, okay, great. Roll call vote, Gina.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Dr. Gavin.
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Mallory.
Yes.
Nita. Yes. Dr. Marado.
Yes.
Chrissy. Yes. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
We don't get to hear, like, I feel like I was the last newbie in, so I thought you maybe like say a little something about your introduction. I don't know if you want to give Justin.
Justin, why do you?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Excited to join the board. I have 2 daughters who attend PFA in 9th and 12th grade. Just been, really excited about this whole school community since they've both joined in middle school. Appreciate the opportunity to contribute more and just very much looking forward to it. Professionally, I work for the California State Association of Counties as a legislative advocate on human services and homelessness issues. So hopefully I can bring my passion for my daughter's education and my professional experience and be supportive of the board's efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Excited.
All right. Dr. Wood, enrollment report.
Enrollment report. So this is always the one enrollment report of the year that is a little complicated. So I'm gonna kind of like walk you guys through it. But basically, so 2 pieces to this. So first of all, typically the enrollment report that you receive is as of the final day of the preceding month. So when you look at this enrollment report document, you're gonna see 2 dates that we're gonna talk about. One is October 2nd and the other is September 30th. So moving forward, all your enrollment reports will be like, September 30th, October 31st, et cetera, right? So, and then the reason October 2nd is there is that in California, we have something called CBEDS or Census Day. This is basically the day which the state sort of takes a census count and everyone reports how many kids they have of that particular day. It's always the first Wednesday in October. So this particular year it was October 2nd. That becomes actually the basis of our school funding. So kind of, Anita knows this in a more technical way, but in a nutshell, think of it as we receive funding for every student we have on that particular date times the average daily attendance for the year. It's a little more nuanced than that, but that's kind of like the big picture idea. So you can see that as of October 2nd, we had 265 students at Leading Edge. We had 109 students at PACT, 762 students at PFA, 600 students at STAR, and 115 students at ECA for a total of 1851. Now, we don't, as you can sort of see eyeballing even September 30th to October 2nd, our enrollment changes like by the day in some academies, especially at PACT and ECA. So the 1851 is going to be basically like our official number for the year. We built our budget off 1855, so there is a slight difference there, right? But as of today, we're already back at 1857. So if the numbers for today, whereas Leading Edge had 265 on September 30th, they actually have 266. PACT had 109 on September 30th. They now actually have 111 as of today. PFA, while it had 760 on September 30th, actually has 765 as of today. STAR is still at their 600. And then ECA has 115 as of today compared to the 114 as of September 30th. So point just being that the point I want the board to sort of understand is especially for our non-site-based academies, these numbers are a little bit more dynamic than they are for our site-based academies. But roughly, we'll be sort of building our budget off this 1851, 1855 sort of number. I don't expect that we're going to need to make any significant changes on what we were sort of projecting. We also, though, so that everyone is aware, we will still continue accepting PACT students probably all year long. We definitely have room in our homeschool program. We actually had 5 kids walk in from a school in another community outside of the area last week. And so
We're already sort of looking at that, like how do we do some targeted social media outreach and marketing in that particular community, and really getting families, to tell their friends type thing, because we do definitely have space within our homeschool program. But our site-based programs in ECA are pretty much full. Also in ECA and PFAA, we really stop enrolling at this point in the semester because students can't actually earn credit because we're kind of too far into the semester. And we basically ask families to start in January when the new semester begins. So, any questions about enrollment?
All right, on that note, we have a special education presentation from Amy and Francesca.
All right, good evening, everyone. Are you fine, Betsy? So we're just going to provide an update tonight on our Department for Special Education, if it comes up. Otherwise, I'll give you some numbers without some pictures. There we go. All right, so on the next slide. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to do is we'll start off with just a quick recap of last year and the things that we accomplished, who we are as a team this year, give you an update on special education enrollment and qualifying disabilities, and then kind of talk to you about our focus this year, what we've done so far of getting the year started, and then our continuum of educational placement. So last year, just a few highlights that we were excited about is we did over 220 IEPs, and 86 of them were initial and triennials, and those are the ones that are the full gamut of assessments that are attached to them. So that's actually a really high number and a lot of work that the team worked very hard on to get all of those done. We also did, or I did, over 210 IEP compliance audits where you go through everybody's IEP with a fine-tooth comb to see what's going on there. And then you have to report out to the state of California, so I did that. And then we had 3 cases that we were in mediation over that we were able to resolve, and 1 CBE complaint that we were able to resolve, and we had 7 compensatory education agreements that I worked with the families on, just with some of our staffing that we had last year, and making sure that the students received all of their services that they should. And then last year, our focus was reset, refine, and codify, and we really spent a lot of time building systems and structures. And then our co-teaching in math at the middle school and high school were a definite focus area. So then going to who we are, kind of the highlights that I really want to put here. 1, this is our para RBT and SLIPA team, plus Charlie in the back, who's our behaviors in that picture. But I didn't bring it and put it on here. We have reduced our contracted staff substantially, and we're able to get our own staff, so NCS staff. So last year we had 2 psych positions, which we did some rolling of, that we now have as our psychs. So all 3 psychs are ours. And we had 4 ed specialist positions that were also contracted last year, and now we're just down to 1. And then for some of the off ones, so our occupational therapy, we don't really have the volume to have a full-time person, so that's where contracted services are for that. And then the miscellaneous stuff that we just have a student who might have physical therapy, but it's only 1 student. So then it doesn't warrant having a full-time person. So that was kind of the highlights here. And then enrollment this year, I also wanted to give you a few numbers on here. So currently, starting the year off, we are at about 10.74% of our student population for NCS that have an IEP. To give you an idea, last year we started off at 10.5% and we ended the year at 12.5%. So that kind of gives you an idea of the volume. Some of that is turnover, some of it's child find of students who have come in. I would say on here, I noted that we're at that 10.74%, and that is with the 98 students that we have, but we have 11 pending, and there will be students ongoing throughout the year. So if all of those students were to qualify, we would be at 11.3%. So just to kind of give you an idea.
And then on the other side, you can see the state sits right around 13%. We are seeing an increase of special education across not just the state of California, but across the country, and also seeing a higher level of need coming in, which we've definitely been navigating, and Francesca will talk about a little bit more at the end of this presentation. All right. And then just qualifying disabilities, this has stayed pretty consistent, that specific learning disability and speech and language impairment are always your top two, and we continue to see that here. Intellectually disabled, which is down on the bottom, we have seen a little bit of an increase of that too this year with students who have come in, but everything else has pretty much stayed fairly consistent.
Can you, sorry to interrupt, what's the definition of intellectually disability? I'm just curious. Sorry.
No,
that's all right. So cognitive disadvantage disability.
Okay.
So sometimes Down syndrome, some other impairments fall under that for intellectual disability.
So much more severe levels, we would see.
Thank you.
The mod severe.
Right? So this year we had a great start last year with the co-teaching model in mathematics. So yes, thanks. It's a nice flare and I can't see over the right. So we were able to kind of go through. Ms. Kaler and I are able to walk through classrooms, do classroom observations at least every other week together, and where we go separately to see those. We've rolled out co-teaching at our ECA, and we added this year the co-teaching for English language arts. So last year our focus was to have that program for mathematics, and now we've rolled that out. So that's our special education teachers being more present in classrooms and actually going through a co-teaching model. To build capacity and train our staff, we're having monthly provider training and meeting with our case management team and our service providers. We also added the additional monthly training for our paraprofessional RBT SLPA team. So to do that. Ms. Kaler is working with our administrative team on monthly PDs, and we are also added trainings for our general education, our whole staff, so academy trainings. Our principals have provided us time with their staff so that we're going in. We rolled out Star Academy was our first one for this semester. I am also meeting weekly with all the educational specialists in our organizations for all 5 academies. Other than myself, I case manage at ECA. So really focusing on that consistent staffing, and that has been really successful for us. We are partnering more resources with our the SELPA, which Sacramento County, SCOE, Office of Education, where they're providing additional training supports and these placements for our students who are in alternative placements that might need a more restrictive environment. Yes. So this year, we had the great opportunity for us to have our case management team come early. So we're able to meet, get training on our new software program. So we're doing our assessments electronically now, which has really freed up our ed specialist time and streamlined that process. Before it was paper pencil and tabulating, and now we have technology that's able to assist that with it. So we were able to train our staff on that. We train them on our expectation and compliance with the new guidance that comes through the state. Ms. Taylor provides that training for the staff. Time for them to focus on getting their caseload prepared before students even step foot on campus and before they start their training, those pre-service days with our whole NCS team. We're able to have that time streamlined. And then our case management team was able to meet with their site administrators and plan out all the IEP meetings. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. I apologize. So we're able to do that before students even step foot on campus. We held over 30 transition meetings, and those transition meetings are when students come into NCS for the first time, or they're pivoting to another grade level or another academy. So our kinders always have one because their day gets longer. Our 5th graders have them, 8th graders going into 9th grade. So we did over 30 of those, and those have to be done within the first 30 days of school. Overall trends, Ms. Kaler addressed this, we are seeing a lot of students with more intense needs. So that's requiring additional support. And we have had some of this, we've had some trends with PACT and ECA. We're seeing a lot of students with higher needs coming actually to our independent study programs, which is a new dynamic for our team. Okay. I think right here we have our continuum of services, and Ms. Kaler put together this document, and this kind of really, a little hard for me. This really breaks down. You might see these things online or other things about continuum of services, and we're talking about that educational placement. So how students receive services. A lot of times you don't see what that means. So Ms. Kaler has broken up this document here where you're able to see in each of the primary areas, academic, behavior, and social emotional, what we do specifically in NCS and how those services are provided in each of those tiers. So we start with this least restrictive environment where we might have an SST or we might see students that might be struggling. And those are kind of some of the pieces of curriculum and how we address those needs. Going up into that green and blue, darker blue area, that's when we think about modifications, accommodations for students. The next layer with that pull-out services, so speech, if you hear about bridge classes, where students are educated outside of the general education classroom based on their needs. When we go to the, looks like lighter blue, purple, pink, those are placements that Mrs. Taylor works with ESELPA to find appropriate placements for students who have more restrictive or more intense needs. So anything that you wanted to address on that?
So the only other thing I would say, this is the area that we're continuing to focus on and really build, because this is the work that we're doing for each area to ensure the students are receiving the supports that they need. And really that co-teaching model goes into this, and what supports do we have, and labeling it so our staff knows what to do and how to interact. The other thing that I shared, this was also shared with the staff at our PD day, is students go up and down this continuum. So if you think about a student might be having a mental health issue and needs to go into a residential treatment facility, they might be at the top in that pink color. When they come back out and they're back on campus, they're going to move back down into that dark blue to the light green area. And how do we provide those supports, and how do we make that transition? So we're running into cases that we haven't had before. And so really working and grounding our work in this when we're working with the staff, when somebody might say, hey, we have this student who came in who has a list of needs that's a mile long. I don't think the student can be here. Well, no, they can. How are we going to support them with what we have? And then if we do find that they need a higher level of support than we can provide here, that's where I will work with the team and with the SELPA and area districts to find where's a placement potentially for this student. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're working on. It was actually really well received at the PD day. A lot of people are like, oh, this makes sense. Now I get it. So really just trying to make it and put it into work, into a diagram where people can consume this information. And then walking the talk. So we don't just have this, we are actually doing the work, but we can ground in that with the conversation. So if somebody doesn't understand or is worried, it's very transparent of, okay, this is what we do, and the student might go up or they might go down on what's here. So we'll continue to work on this as the year goes on and ground ourselves in that. And that is the end of my presentation for this evening.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Is there any questions for Amy?
I have a question. So you said, I'm still a little on the chart, it goes on the chart. So if a student falls within the top 3 tiers that require, potentially, it says it requires a placement. So there's never a, but you said there's a place for them here. So I was kind of confused, like, is, are there any circumstances by which a student in the top 3 tiers would still be here?
So, okay, there's kind of two parts to that. One, any student that enrolls in Natomas Charter School is our student. So
Right.
currently, we have a student who would be considered a PFAA student, but is up in this purple area
Okay.
and is at a non-public school. So a non-public school, but we still provide services. We go to the student's IEP. We have to go over and ensure that everything is going on at the school that they are currently enrolled in and make sure that they have all the services. So they're still our student, they're just not on our campus. But they are enrolled with us. So if you went into a power school, you would still see them there on our SPED system called SACE. They're still there. We are still legally responsible for them. Just like if a student was at a residential facility, they're in that pink area, they're still our student, we're still supporting them. It gets a little complicated sometimes and we have to, I guess I would say, be creative. We potentially would have to work with Natomas Unified if they need to do home hospital, but we would do some back end stuff, but they're still our student. It's just, once you hit that light blue, that's where an SDC class would be. We don't have an SDC class on our campus or on any of our campuses, so we would have to reach out to area schools to find an SDC placement for the student, even though there are. So we're buying a seat for
Right.
our student there. So that's what that, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that helps a lot. Thank
And
you.
the students, and we had students return.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we have a student that wasn't with us on site last year, but they are on site this year. So.
I have a question. You mentioned that, that with the current staff now, you're able to hire current staff versus contracting out. So are we saving money?
Yes.
Yeah.
A decent amount. I don't know if we could quite say ops,
Okay.
lots, but a decent amount, yeah.
And ultimately, I would, if you take money out of it, the staff members that are actually ours versus a contractor, you get a different level of service. They're more invested here. We do have one fantastic contractor that we have. All our contractors are good, but there's an exceptional one that we really like to be ours. And very much has ingrained herself in our program. But that's kind of out of the norm. Usually contractors, they're involved with the students and they're here and they care. It's just a different level than if they're your employee. And there's also a different quality level that you get. So it's been really nice. And like we said, we want to keep it as consistent as possible because we can start building year over year versus like, oh, a person's in and out. That does not make the department.
And it is hard to find staff.
Yes,
Special
I worked
education
very
staff,
hard.
right?
to-
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
And when we've had strong contractors, we look for ways to turn them into employees
Yes.
in the future years.
Yes.
And we've got several.
Yeah.
that have come. It's also that cultural piece, we can't require a contractor to be at a lot of our special events. The current contractors that were contractors last year who were staff, even last year, they still went. They still went to the fall festivals, the plays, the dances and things. And being ingrained in that culture is really important. So that's always our preference.
Thank you.
Before they leave, I do want to commend both Amy and Francesca. They've done a really great job, as they've stepped into these roles to really help stabilize our special education team and really make sure the staff feels supported, both the special education staff and the general education staff. And really, I know there's a lot of acronyms and things that we were sharing, but really what they've done is they've really built a really strong, robust program that I think we can have confidence is, being implemented with fidelity, that it meets all the various compliance audits. And how many things can you mess up an IEP? Was it like 200 or something?
No, it was over 600
Yeah.
things
And
on a
so-
basic.
So when she's
IEP.
doing like her audit, like she's looking at 600 things on a document. And
Minimum.
imagine you're doing that for every kid, right? So, and they've really, they really helped elevate our program. So I just want to kind of give both.
One last question. You mentioned the numbers, we're getting more students. What do you attribute that to?
Everywhere is, so when I was talking to the district, their special education director, she was saying, they're seeing the same thing. And I would say when I go to the SELPA meetings, the SELPA saying the same thing, other area districts. One thing that definitely has impacted us that we directly know is Twin Rivers shut down one of their programs, one of their mod severe programs. And that's where we're all seeing the influx, but it's not just that. That's just one factor that definitely impacted us. PACT seemed to get a huge brunt of that. But it's also a trend that we're just seeing across everywhere. So not sure what's gone on, but there's definitely a significant increase.
I think we're also building a quality program, and word comes out in the community and parents feel secure and safe to bring their students here. And we're building a quality program, and people want their students here, even students with special needs. And they really, because they have an option to be in sometimes a self-contained class or different, and they want to try this inclusion model, and they hear the great reputation of Natomas Charter, so they want to be here. And we welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have another presentation. The Academy Assessment Results Presentation with Laura and the Academy Principals.
Yeah.
Laura, this is why they also have printouts in front of them.
Yes, yes. All right. So I gave you kind of the preview of the data before. And so today we're going to jump in a little bit more. I'm going to give you kind of an overview of where are we starting and what have we looked at the whole school. And then each of the academy principals will be giving you kind of a more specific look at how they're attending to their individual data for their academy and supporting their students. So you can go ahead and go to the next one. So first I wanted to share regional results. We always look at where are we within the Natomas and Sacramento region. And so what you'll see here is that most places are kind of seeing flat results, just a little bit of like growth or drop, by a couple of points. We did see some increase in math for MP3. There's our composite results because they actually get their 3 different schools according to the state. So we had to put their data together. A little drop at Westlake. But we've been working a lot with the local charters and talking and kind of swapping, what are you doing and how are you doing? And I know all of our TOSAs are getting together. The TOSAs from my team reached out to the other schools and are trying to, talk to each other and say, okay, what's working? How can we all do that to benefit all our students, which I really appreciate because then it's not a competition, like our kids get this, your kids don't. It's very much how can we increase learning for all students across the community, which is great. They're trying to make some inroads to the district TOSAs as well, but those haven't been confirmed yet. So we're looking at, how can we learn from others that are finding success. You can go to the next one. For English language arts, definitely, we were flat, but we're still amongst the highest in the region. And so that always, makes us feel good. We definitely saw some growth at MP3, and so that's part of our literacy TOSA and our math TOSA. They're going over there and they're talking and learning. I know Joe's been talking to people. I've been talking to people, trying to figure out what's working. Because these same, flat results are things that like across like the Northern California reach of my knowledge and cohort of other assessment coordinators is kind of what we're seeing overall. So can go to the next one. And then looking at, also we looked at, okay, where are the students coming from? Because we do see a drop in 6th grade scores. And we see a dip. And so Joe pulled out this data over the summer looking at our scores based on if students went to, the light blue is if they went to an NCS elementary, so PACT or Star Academy, when they're going in to middle school. And then the dark blue is if they went to an elementary school outside of the NCS community, and then the yellow is all students. So you can kind of see that there is definitely a benefit for being in that consistent educational setting and and being with us. One thing that is definitely interesting is that we're definitely getting like a difference between the leading edge cohort and the PFAA cohort. So we're seeing kind of the higher performing in math going to performing in Fine Arts Academy right now, whereas in the past it's been kind of the opposite. So it just kind of moves depending on the different generations. So it's pretty interesting, but definitely the more consistently that students are within Natomas Charter School, we're able to find their needs and push them to find growth. So that's good. If you go to the next one, please, for English Language Arts. Same type of data that we're seeing here, where if you're coming from an outside program, there's a dip compared to our Natomas Charter Elementary School. It's not as pronounced as the math data, but that's fairly similar with the math and the English Language Arts data. But you can see, like, especially at leading edge, if you went to our schools, you're 8% higher. And then if you are at PFAA, you're 12% higher if you went to Star Academy or PACT coming in. So there's definitely that. And that's something that our teachers are seeing as well with the cohorts of students coming in, is they're kind of seeing less middle and more divergent needs. And so that's why they're really working on differentiation. And then the principals will talk about the things that they're doing to support specifically. I don't want to take their glory. Next one, please. The other thing we've looked at is looking at chronic absenteeism and how I guess absenteeism in general impacts students being able to show their learning. So we have here a couple of different standards. So excellent attendance is 0 to 4 days absent. And that is, 50% of our site-based students are in that category. So a large chunk of our students have excellent attendance. Satisfactory, which is the orange, is going to be 5 to 9 days, and that's 26%. And then moderate to high, which is 10 to 12 days, is 7%. And then you're getting down to the at-risk and the chronically absent are only 12 and 6%. So when we're looking at this, we're looking at very small groups of students, right? But what we see overall is that the more you come to school, the better you do, right? Which is not surprising. Not only are you getting access and engagement with more academic content, but you're also feeling more a part of the group and more social emotional care, right? Because every time you miss out on something, you have to come back in, you have to dive in, you're feeling less comfortable. And so we definitely see that. We do kind of have an anomaly here in leading edge, and that's really due to very low numbers, just a couple of kids there. So it's pretty interesting, but definitely in math, you want to come to school. That's the way you're best going to understand it. If you can go to language arts, please. Similar type of thing, less variation. Definitely the more you are at school here for English language arts, the better you're going to do. But because that's more than just reading, right? You think theoretically if a child is home a lot, and they're home 18 or more days and they're home reading, you're like, that might not be that different, but it really is, because there's a lot more to the English language arts than just picking up a book. So definitely come to school, right? That is the message that we are fighting there. All right. So the school-wide action plan is the one that we've been talking about because we've been looking at this data for a while, is we are definitely working on proactive identification of the needs of students. So really looking at both the CASP data and our iReady data to look at what are the needs of the students, then developing intervention and supports for those students so that we can help them to grow and close those gaps, and then definitely in alignment of our resources. We're really intentional with what we're spending our money on and how we're doing it, because we want to make sure that we're doing what's right for moving the needle for our students. All right, so that takes us to the most exciting part is the principals. And so Diana Wilson will come up and get us started with Star Academy. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good to be here.
All right, so thank you. These are our math scores from CASP for STAR from the 23-24 school year. Overall, 60% of our students were at or exceeded grade level standards. And our other strongest bar there is our RFEP students, our students who were reclassified as English proficient this past year or recently within our academy. We are focusing on all the other subgroups that are listed there. We're watching them very closely in our plan for Star Academy. Over on the right, I have written down what we're going to be doing to address our math. Ready math training for all new teaching staff is happening on November 7th. Formal observations for all teachers this year is focusing on math, so I get to see a lot of math when I'm out and about. Our WIN groups are what I need groups, and our PDSA cycles are also focused on math this year. Our MTSS framework includes data-driven math instruction and a family outreach. So you might be, if you have students at STAR, you might be hearing from those teachers soon about great things your kids are doing and possibly some assistance that they need in math. And we are hoping to have some push-in intervention later on this school year in January. And next is our ELA CASP. So we are a little stronger in ELA than we are in math. 67% overall of our students performed exceeding or met standards in ELA. And again, our RFEP students are rocking it there. Definitely the multilingual brain is that what Alyssa says. She says the multilingual brain is strong, which is proven here. And all of our other subgroups we are watching very closely when we analyze our data in MTSS. We focus on our subgroups as well as our overall performance. And again, the ELA plan is very similar to the math plan. We have ready reading training coming in for all new teaching staff. And our MTSS framework, we just got together today to talk about individual students of concern. And we wrote each of them a 6-week plan of interventions and supports to see how we can watch them grow. Teaching strategies are visited every week in their PLC formats, and push-in intervention hopefully will be around the corner in January. And next, we have
Any questions for Diana?
Yes.
What is push-in intervention?
We have a teacher who is currently on leave and will be returning to STAR with a half-year intervention as a half-year intervention teacher. So she will be coming in to support teachers in ELA and math, pushing into the classroom. So she won't be pulling students out, but she'll be pushing in to support during instructional periods of time.
Thank you.
Any other Star Academy questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, hi everyone. All right, I made a graphic. I was feeling graphic-y, so intervention strategies. So math scores, packed, as you know, small sample sizes, especially because a lot of our enrollment last year was K2 who don't take CASP testing. So we're looking at a very small population of people. And so we get, the good part about that is we get to look at each kid and kind of make a plan. So we've actually pulled out the kids who are left, who took the test last year, pulled them out, looked at their individual scores. And we have a lot of math things going on. As a math teacher, math is very important to me, and so I take it very seriously. But we have a pact-wide focus on math instruction this year. So we're really hitting math hard with our families, our staff, and our students. We have a lot of extra math events going on. We have some special Fun Friday math game sessions that are planned throughout the year to bring kids in and do some math skills review in fun ways. Some special math events though, to come in and solve puzzles that are related to mathematical problems. So kind of building that in. We are also using weekly data meetings. We have once a week an MTSS meeting, which is for tiered supports. And we're looking at individual students and crafting plans during that time. And so each week, staff members pull out a couple of kids, and we really focus on those kids each week. And math is a really big part of that. We're also doing all of our staff members do what we call a PDSA cycle, which is where they they try something for a 6-week period, track the data, decide if it's working or not, and keep going. And all of our PDSA cycles right now are math focused. So everybody's working on a math plan. We really have tightened up the focus for our families on taking home a quality standards-based math curriculum. In homeschooling, parents like to decide how they're going to teach math, which is great if your kid is learning, but if your kid is stalled, we're putting a lot of emphasis on, you got to take home the materials and we're going to help train you on how to use them. And you can't just do the first chapter, you have to do the book. So really honing that in and making sure that the materials we have to send home are quality, really well-researched, well-supported programs. Doing some parent training along with that. Also working on some targeted instructional materials for gap filling. So we have a castle theme this year for Brave. And so we really have been talking to parents about your goal as a parent teacher is to build your tower really tall, but your tower's gonna fall down if you have too many gaps at the bottom. And so you can't stop building your tower, you gotta do both. So we're working on that core math curriculum to build grade level skills, but then getting very specific tools like your child is struggling with integers or fractions or whatever it is, let's fill that gap. And that means you have to do a little more math in your day. And then we expanded our Math Foundations workshop program from last year. That was really, really successful. That's that block where we're bringing kids in for a 2-hour chunk once a week to really get some core skills. That is now offered 1st through 8th grade for that 2 hours. And our kindergartners, we added a 1-hour Math Foundations workshop where we're getting some core numeracy skills. Those are full and well attended at almost every grade level and a little over full. We're actually shuffling to try to get a few more kids into some of those. So that's been really good. And then finally, another thing we implemented for this year is we revised and got a new version of a standards checklist for homeschooling parents. It's like, this is the grade your kid's in. Here are the skills that should be covered in this grade. And our advisors are checking in regularly to say, like, where are we? What's missing? What have you covered? What are we forgetting about? So that we just have awareness of that coverage. Okay, so then literacy, it's many of the same strategies, just math is definitely where we're leaning in a lot. However, we also know that if our kids aren't reading, it's gonna be really hard to do math and everything else in their lives. So our reading scores, again, tend to be a little bit stronger than math, as are the case all over the state. A lot of the same things, there were just a couple of things that I wanted to hit that were specific to language arts. Oh, we added a writing skills workshop that's starting actually Wednesday. We were noticing kind of some gaps in our 2nd through 4th graders and their ability to have some strong writing. So we put in a targeted instruction and invited some specific kids to come in and really hone those skills. Our literacy foundation workshops have also been expanded in the same way, so everybody can take those. And our middle school ones of those, our 5th through 8th graders, those are very writing heavy because writing is a place that we're seeing a lot needed. And then the other thing that I didn't mention, it is both math and reading, is that we're actually piloting a program this year. Laura and I have a meeting very soon for Conquer the CASP, which is a curriculum that's designed for 2 purposes, one of which is reviewing core skills and the other of which is to build comfort and familiarity and to reduce anxiety around test taking. As you can imagine, our homeschooling students haven't taken a whole lot of tests because when it's just you and your parent, it's a lot less likely they're gonna hand you a test. So tests anxiety tends to be really high. So we're really working on building comfort, like it's okay, we do this all the time, you're gonna take a lot of tests in your life, and kind of those skills. So we're piloting a program that was designed specifically for homeschoolers, in which the kids are doing some additional practice that's targeted at grade level skills, but also is teaching kids like, how do you navigate this thing that is a test online and how do we use the tools? I'm excited about it. I'm gonna make my poor child do it. She gets to be the guinea pig for everything. So all of those things going on, a lot of exciting things happening, and I got to watch kids reading today. Little people figuring out how to read. So that gave me a lot of joy as I walked out the door. I think that's it for me. Questions?
No questions.
All right, Dr. Vasilevsky, releasing it.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm gonna start off kind of by bringing some attention to this number right here. Actually, leading edge is interesting right now. We're really starting to mirror the demographics of our community in cool ways, but also ways that have challenged our teaching staff instructionally. And so you can see about 127 students are from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds on this data. Well, 257 of our students total, I think it's about 49% of our students. While the entire NCS wide is, I think, about 22% socioeconomically disadvantaged. So you're seeing some increase in diversity both ethnically as well as socioeconomically, which, like I said, we used to be called, Leading Edge was lovingly called the IB feeder school. And while we still have that higher level learning going on, we've had to shift some of our programs a little bit. And so I just want to lay out our math vision. I'm working on this with Mr. Love at the middle school level and our TOSA, Courtney Selby. I'll hit on a couple of key components, but includes our core curriculum, CPM, building thinking classrooms, which is an approach to learning that revolves around discourse and discussion in the classroom. Of course, iReady, which you've heard a lot about, differentiation in the classroom. And then this new piece is foundations and fluency. So I think a couple people talked to this, is that we're seeing students come in with larger gaps in basic math skills. And we know at the elementary level that they really rigorously provide intervention for reading skills, and sometimes math gets left behind. So we're designing a new program where we're going to be assessing all students on a range of skills in math, basic facts and skills that we believe every student should have memorized and automated in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then providing support for them, including you see under the intervention, Math Foundation's parent partnerships, including a number of parent universities throughout the year. And then just one more highlight is our math tutoring program. After school, we run the math tutoring 4 days a week. We have a number of staff members leading that work with a lot of peer tutors as well. I think Maya Kishal is one of our peer tutors. But we have right now 40 kids engaged 4 days a week in math tutoring. And then we assess them on the individual skills at the beginning of a math tutoring session and at the end. And so we can really clearly see how they've progressed. That's just one piece of the math work we're doing. And the last thing I'll say is Mr. Love and I really want to collaborate to make sure that we're sharing math practices across our campus, which we believe will strengthen both schools. And then on the ELA front, similar data discrepancies among subgroups. You can see it at a higher level. One thing we're doing this year, actually tomorrow night, we have we're calling it Literacy Night with families. That's based off of this intervention work we've been doing, the secondary screener. So we took the iReady data this year, and then a few staff members and we screened about 80 students in phonics and fluency. So you had to sit down with them and give them these secondary screeners and find out which students need actual phonics intervention, which is something usually long forgotten by middle school. And I think we have 14 students that are receiving phonics intervention twice a week for intensive and once a week for mild needs, to really make sure that they fill those gaps before they get to high school. And then tomorrow night, we're going to be sharing a lot of resources with parents and really prompting them to work on the fluency and the reading skills at home. And that's the parent partnership. And then on the professional development side, of course, continuing to iterate on our programs with our staff. So that's it for Leading Edge tonight. Any questions for Leading Edge?
It's also something I want to point out that I hope the board understands is that a lot of the things we're seeing in those middle school programs that we're having to employ are things that we would traditionally do in elementary school. So those phonics screeners, those numeracy screeners, and we're really having to employ largely elementary strategies to sort of catch some of these kids up, which is stretching our teachers. And so, we're making investments in terms of professional development and curriculum. But if you were a trained secondary math teacher or trained secondary English teacher, chances are you've never done phonics instruction before, right? And so we've been really sort of, working on sort of building that knowledge. And it goes back to what Laura was sort of hitting on, even kids coming from Star Academy PAC have some gaps, right? Like not everyone's at 100% meeting or exceeding grade level, but the students that are coming to us from other elementary programs, the needs are even greater. And we're really trying to we're having to sort of, as Alicia was saying, build the tower while also sort of filling the gaps at the same time.
And I might add that I know Courtney Selby, our math test, is working on the fluency data. And one of the things that they're asking the kids is, and looking at, is where did the kid come from, right? So that, you know, we're able to pull out, like, what is the feedback and data for Star Academy, for PACT, you know, like for the different areas, so that we can kind of know, you know, how to improve based on what we're seeing as well. So they're doing a good deep dive.
Is this a trend from kind of like COVID times that's kind of catching up?
Yes, and it's not just the year of distance learning and that we navigated in the closure. It's all of the staffing challenges that schools experience thereafter. We know, for instance, within our 8th grade cohort, there's a group of kids that were in Natomas Park and didn't have a teacher their entire 5th year. So, and that's unfortunately a more common story than I think most parents realize. If your kid has been at Natomas Charter School, we've done a pretty amazing job making sure your kid has high quality, consistent instruction. That has not been the case at all of the other schools in the region. And so it's a mixture of the impacts of distance learning and the closure itself, magnified by then, you know, multiple years of inconsistent staffing or undertrained teachers, or, you know, people that have been out on, you know, extended leaves and different things like that. And so it's all of that compounded together, and now trying to kind of catch the kids up. I will also add, I think an added wrinkle on top of all of this is the shift to the Common Core math standards from the old math standards was a little bit like going from phonics to whole language. And now we're sort of realizing, oh, maybe they actually need some phonics. And so we have a little bit of the pendulum sort of swinging back. And so what the staff's been talking about in terms of like working on numeracy and fluency, same thing, same conversations are going on in the school district and the other charter schools in the region. They're like, wow, these kids don't, you know, back in the old days when all of us were in school, you know, we might have had to do 50 multiplication problems in 2 minutes, right? We're finding that this generation does not have that level of automaticity and skills. And it really becomes apparent when you start looking at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade data, and you go watch kids in the classroom, and you can see like they can do the grade level standard, but then when they actually have to do the computations, that's kind of where the wheels start falling off the bus real quick. So.
And I'd say that we are seeing more of, like, seeing these big gaps is more like what you would see at the traditional district school. And so we're just seeing more of that, like, you know, Dr. Lockteff was talking about, you know, we're getting a broader chunk of the population, which is awesome, but that means that then you're getting, you know, more of what the general population has, which is good, because we need every kid possible to experience the care and dedication of our staff. So
I think a good example, like a kind of real example of what Dr. Wood and Daryl just said there is in a classroom setting. I went in and the students were doing area perimeter activities, and every one of them could tell me what they were doing, what their objective was, area perimeter using the right language, but about 30% of them couldn't actually solve the problem because they couldn't do the multiplication piece. So it was like it's the theory piece and the conceptual piece was there, but it was like the actual underlying kind of numeracy piece that was a challenge, which is not something that we would have seen years ago. All right, on that happy note. So with PFA, I think the one thing I do want to highlight the most is the plans and all of the pieces that we put into place were based on not just the CASP scores and the area scores from last year, but also this piece that we saw about the incoming 6th graders and also the incoming 9th graders, because PFA is that unique setting of we have both of these entry points into the program. And so seeing that, we saw a need in both of those areas. So basically, with our plans, kind of, we looked at the middle school intervention class. You're going to notice that there's a lot focused around that 8th grade and 9th grade spot, right? So there's a middle school intervention class called Inspiration and Ideas now, which is really focusing on getting those students struggling in 8th grade ready for the 9th grade jump, because that is a big jump. And then in 9th grade, what we did was we are piloting a Math 1A and a Math 1B program this year, which was for those students that we saw significant gaps coming into 9th grade. It was an opportunity for them to kind of divide Math 1 into 2 years. And that still allows them to be ATG eligible because they can still go up to Math 3 all the way through to their senior year, but it does provide them like an entry point in that 9th grade piece. In 6th grade, we are using kind of not only the 6th grade math class, but also we have a middle school skills class, which has been reinvented this year and is getting rave reviews from parents and students, but it is really that place of catch-all. So that's where we've been doing screenings. That's where we've been, so for example, literacy skills, and we've been doing computer skills, and also we'll be doing these math fluency skills in that space as well, because really the description of that class is what do you need to be successful in middle school? And that's a whole variety of skills. So that's the top kind of two on the math plan. We're clearly like focusing as well on these subgroups, both SPED, EL, and African American students. You can see that's an area of growth that we definitely want to be focusing on. Dr. Lockteff talked about the building thinking classrooms, which was an amazing, we actually went for a really innovative day together, which was nice, and we have been building together a plan that's going to be consistent across both academies. And really kind of outlined by Dr. Lockteff in those areas. I would say that on top of that, all of the math teachers are doing professional development as a professional development, doing a book study of building thinking classrooms. And what's wonderful about the approach in that book is the equity-based pieces. There's a lot of areas of the strategies they use, which are really focused on breaking down barriers, social barriers, and other pieces that students struggle with in math class specifically. And so it's a really great framework for strategies for teachers to be using. We're also looking at those tutoring options. So with National Honor Society, that was the same as kind of last year. We have students teaching or peer tutoring. Math Buddies is taking a little bit longer than, where's Mr. Schwab? It's taking a little bit longer than we expected to get going. But what Math Buddies is actually a Sac State program where math students from Sac State are going to come in and actually be tutors for our students. It's taking a little bit longer to going through the clearance process and the fingerprinting process than we anticipated, but that should be up and running pretty soon. And then, of course, we use WinTimes as an intervention tool pretty consistently across PFAA. And then finally, really with math is this co-teaching model, which we saw a lot of success with last year, and we're just continuously refining that model as we go forward, especially focusing on middle school. Because we are getting to see a lot of success in that middle school program through the ability to have multiple teachers in a classroom working with the students at once. With ELA, so we've implemented the academic, so we've actually got an intervention classes. We call it ALE. The long name is the Academic Language and Literacy Essentials classes. And we have one at middle school, we have one at high school. Now that class, you would see a lot of English language or multilingual learners in those classrooms, but also students who we've identified with low literacy skills, predominantly coming in at 6th grade again and 9th grade. But anyone who really needs that level of support, and we've done that through those screeners that I mentioned in 6th grade, but also we're running fluency screeners in 9th grade ELA as well. So that's the next point. So those two screeners. And then we've got a whole piece of professional development being led by a wonderful multilingual TOSA, Alyssa Ortiz-Khan. She's actually came into a full staff meeting last month. She's coming in again, this month and next month, and leading small groups based around literacy skills in each of the subjects, so each of the disciplinaries. Subject. So she's coming in and actually taking the science teachers and saying, here's literacy skills based on the science standards, which has been really great. And the response from teachers has been so encouraging in that they just want more. And so it is something that they see as a growth area, as well as something we're able to provide through our wonderful TOSA. Questions? I apologize. I'm actually at a PT session myself right now online. That's why I kind of get early. I'm going to duck out early as well, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, thank you.
All right. Wrap it up with ECA here. Thank you. So as you can see, this last year, we had a pretty small group. So we only had 22 students testing last year, but 64% of them were successful in terms of meeting standards in ELA. And so some of the things that we are doing in ELA right now, we have a new ELA support course this year. That support course supports all students testing 3 or more grade levels below based on their iReady score, and then also our multilingual students. And then within that class, they're actually broken out into 2 groups. So it's already a pretty small class. I know it's really small. So they're getting about groups of about 5 or 6.
So they're able to get really targeted intervention based on their needs. And as Mr. Love mentioned, Alyssa at Ortiz-Con is working with those students. So she's pulling out our multilingual students and serving them. And then Ms. Worthington, who's our English 9 teacher, is working with our other students to help fill in the gaps. We are also incorporating CASP strategies. So I've been spending time in training looking at how we can incorporate some of the CASP strategies into our classes, so that when it comes to the CASP test, it is a true reflection of their understanding and their learning and not a reflection of how well they understand the actual test itself. Because in high school, unfortunately what happens is they take it in 8th grade and then they don't see it for 3 years. And so by the time they've gotten to 11th grade, it's been a long time since they've seen the test. And it's not that we want to teach to the test, but they do need to understand what the test is. So that's something that we're working on as well. And then finally, again, Alyssa is leading some professional development for us. She's come in a couple times already, and will be coming in periodically. Similar to what Mr. Love shared, our teachers have identified this as something they want to learn more about. And when they were setting their own goals for the year, actually for our evaluation process, a few of them actually set specific goals around that because they're very passionate about it. And so it's something that our teachers are really working pretty diligently on. That's ELA. And then math. So for our math, as you can see, we have some work to do. So about 32% of our students met or exceeded the standard last year. We are very fortunate now to have a very, very strong math teacher. Mr. Rule is our math teacher. He is fantastic. And so he has been working also with Ms. Selby, Courtney Selby, on the building thinking classrooms and how we can incorporate that in the hybrid model. So he's been very intentional about how can we get the students working together, even though they're only in class together once a week in our program. And what are the strategies we can also use to help them be more independent, because that's something our students struggle with, particularly in math. In our integrated Math 1 support course, one of the things he's been working on is increasing differentiation, so really targeting each student's specific needs, because we use a program called MathSpace, which is different from what the site-based programs use, but it actually has the differentiation built in. So students sort of authentically are getting specific targeted skills. And so he's really been pushing that in more and utilizing that more as a tool and teaching them how to use it on their own as well when they need some help outside of class. We have additional math study halls to support our 2-3 students because we do have that Math 1 support class for students who come in below grade level. But once they're out of Math 1, there's actually not a support class for Math 2 or 3 or anything higher. So we implemented additional study hall time. And as soon as a student starts struggling, we're actually making them go. So it's no longer optional. We're saying, hey, this is required to support you, to get you back up. As a result, we've seen a big shift. Students are actually doing really, really well in math this year. Our 9th grade class in particular has been really strong because we are catching them earlier and supporting them as much as possible. And then finally, I mentioned the independence piece. So as a whole academy, but particularly in math, one of the things that we're working on this year is aligning our courses with the national standards for quality online learning. So there's a whole set of standards about how do you best set up a class that is taught online or in a hybrid format. And so that's something that we're working on because the structure of those classes and those standards is really about how are students able to work independently and work collaboratively and access everything that they need outside of class. It's a pretty big lift, but like I said, Mr. Rule is very, very strong, and so he's really embraced it, and he's already started implementing some of these strategies like posting additional help, posting additional resources, and so we hope that that too will hopefully help students gain that confidence in math that they need. Questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question, and I may be way off, but when I hear you mention MathSpace and that the ECA students are having to learn and work on math independently because of the structure, right? That's what they choose and that works great. Can any of that be looked at, considered to use in tutoring our site-based students?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if they.
Okay, so different programs, I understand that, but I just wonder.
We, yes, it is a separate program. And so it has been used as a supplement for PFA math classes. But it's kind of a whole different process. And so Yes, it can be used and we have tried out different ways to do that. But I don't know, it's
It
a little
requires
trickier.
something different.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to
Yeah.
like, to
You can't
embed
just,
it in the class.
Yeah.
And so, so they're using other strategies that align more, mesh more with the class, because that would be like, I'm gonna take you out of this group that you're, engaged in the math, I'm gonna put you over here on a computer.
Right,
And so we don't wanna do that within the class, but then we can utilize it for extra support.
Yeah, for extra support, I mean, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you can tell that our principals have been working very, very hard on supporting their staff and their students in this movement and progress. And, just hopefully you saw that we are continuing with our MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support, and that's where the staff get together and they look at how students are doing and what are their concerns and how can they intervene so that we can get to those needs right away, like Ms. Woods was saying, we're seeing them struggling right away and we're getting them to that help. And then making sure that they're coming to campus, really focusing on the literacy and the fluency. The principals have been really on top of it with that, reaching out to staff, working with them. Dr. Lockteff learned how to do phonics screeners and was right there doing it with them, they're very hands-on with their students and working closely with our TOSAs on a regular basis. And then we're making sure that we're supporting our multilingual and emerging bilingual students. So we will continue on the journey. We've got some good things in place and now you just have to see them through. We have been working on a math self-study, and so that'll be coming in the winter, the outcome of that. But we've been looking at a lot of things, doing a lot of observations, talking with teachers. We're gonna have some student listening sessions. So we are very much focused on math and finding what are the best, most effective strategies. Any questions?
No questions, but I have a comment. I'm excited to see how this cross collaboration between academies is gonna work out. I'm excited to hear more about that.
Yeah.
I think that'll be good.
Yeah.
I have a question. And maybe it's for Leading Edge, but I noticed that Leading Edge seems to do, I don't know if this is historical, but what do we attribute higher scores for the African American population at Leading Edge as opposed to the other academies? Everyone else, African American students were scoring lower, but Leading Edge, there seemed to be more parity. And I'm wondering, is there something that I'm a new board member that I'm aware of historically at Leading Edge that's going on there, or what do we attribute that to?
Laura Vasa, do you guys wanna answer that question?
I think, it might be answered in a simpler way than we'd like, but math, there's 32 African American students reporting math at Leading Edge. And let's see, there's 37. So and we're performing 28% proficient in math at Leading Edge and 14% proficient. It's not really explained by the number of students, so I mean, when you're dealing with that small of a sample size, a variance in number can change the percentage, 2 or 3 kids.
Well, let me ask this one, that's why I asked about historical, are those figures historical at Leading Edge where you have those types of percentages there?
Not necessarily. I think that, what we saw last year, I mean, it varies, but it hasn't been that stark of a difference. But I think that the math team has worked really hard with the students and really working on that collaboration and everybody's involved and kind of breaking down those barriers. So I think it's been a lot of intentional work. And we've been really focused on that population. So
I think the other piece I would add too is that today, Leading Edge has teachers who have taught math more consistently for longer periods of time
Yes.
than PFAA does. There's also kind of another interesting wrinkle that happens when they make that 5th to 6th grade transition, where kids will almost self-identify what they feel they're strong in and what they feel they're not strong in. And what we have seen a historical pattern for a long, long time is kids who feel they are not strong in math and science will choose PFAA versus kids who feel that they are strong in math and science will choose Leading Edge. And so I think there's a little bit of like some self-selecting going on there. It's a little hard to say like specifically what is the one thing. I think they all kind of go together. But I would think, really looking at that middle school data, we have a we have a more consistent middle school math team right now at Leading Edge than we have had at PFAA. Just teachers with more years of experience, teachers that have taught middle school and have taught in our program for a longer time, teachers that have more familiarity with the curriculum. So all of that combined, I think they're able to sort of reach a broader, a more diverse group of students than maybe teachers in other programs have in the past.
And two of them have worked together for a number of years, I want to say 5 years together as a team. And so they plan very closely together, they work very closely together.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the PFA data actually includes the 11th graders too, right? So it's not exactly apples to apples.
Yeah, that's true too.
I was just looking across the board for everybody, I guess
Yeah.
it's just PFA.
Yeah.
I will just, kind of holistically, like outside of the mathematics classroom, which is obviously important, I think the whole campus is being intentional about being culturally responsive, building our BSU and our affinity groups for students of color, and really ensuring that they're feeling represented and connected in the classroom. So I think there's a lot of good work going on to support all groups, and it's in particular our African American students. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions?
As Laura walks off, I just want to really commend her and the principals is that in other schools I've worked at, people often look at data and just go, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's definitely not the approach that they've taken as a team. They've really looked at this data and thought, not only do we have to figure out something to do here, but we're going to actually buck some national trends. So that doesn't mean that there's necessarily like great research and models out there about like this is the one thing you need to implement. So I appreciate that they're kind of trying to take a more holistic approach and look at what are all the different things that we need to do. And it's everything from, ensuring that we have stronger curriculum, stronger instructional quality, making sure that kids really have those strong relationships with their teachers and their teachers look like them, have backgrounds similar to them. And so they've really tried to take a very comprehensive approach to sort of looking at how are we gonna move this, and especially recognizing that in our middle school program, 60% of the kids that are walking in were not in our elementary program. And in many cases, especially at Leading Edge, they're only with us for 3 years. And so how quickly can we fill those gaps and accelerate during that 3-year period? And that gets to what Laura was talking about with the math cell study. So Laura and our math TOSA, Courtney Selby, and Ting Sun, former executive director, co-founder, are really working together to really sort of analyze our math practices, specifically at the middle school level, just because that is such a pivotal point for us. And really, trying to develop a long-term comprehensive plan of how do we address this, and everything from when we are bringing in those new 6th graders, like in May, what are we doing then? Are we creating some of these formative assessments and having them take them in May? Maybe there's some summer work that we're asking them to do either independently or on campus with teachers, and really so that they can hit the ground running in 6th grade a little bit more strongly than they have in the past.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving along, hearing of the public for items not on the agenda.
Nothing received with me and no one online.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Hearing of the public for items on the agenda.
Same, nothing received with me, no one online.
Thank you. Executive Director comments?
So believe it or not, we're getting into the very, very, very busy time of the year. So some things I just want to make sure you guys have on your radar. As Vasa's mentioned, tomorrow night is Leading Edge Literacy Night, so come on over, check that out. On Wednesday night, we actually have Secondary Schools Night, which kicks off the start of the next application season. So if you're not familiar, Secondary Schools Night is hosted by Natomas Unified. All the charter schools participate, but basically it's for 5th and 8th graders to come look at middle and high school options. And then as Zach was mentioning earlier this week, She Kills Monsters, which is our first theatrical production of the season, opens. It is actually going to be in the Ben rather than in the Black Box, so come and check it out. Also, in terms of checking out things, on Friday we have the Fall Festival at Star Academy. Next week at lunch, we have the Dia de los Muertos celebration. All of you are invited to come at lunch on the 30th. And then Jazz at the Ben is on November 7th, so that's kind of one of our first instrumental concerts of the year. And if you're a Sacramento County voter, you can turn in your ballot here at the Vote Center on November 2nd through November 5th. And last but not least, Night of the Kings is on December 8th, which apparently is Hello Kitty night, which I don't know a whole lot about it, but everything I've been told is like, those are like the hot tickets. So apparently it's like a really big deal that we are performing at Hello Kitty. Wear your Hello Kitty.
When does applications open?
December 1st, right?
November.
November 1st, sorry, November 1st, like, November 1st.
This Friday, next Friday.
Okay.
There'll be a line around the block.
I feel like we just closed last, like we just got through the lottery. I don't really know how we're already opening.
I know, it seems like it went real, the year flew by.
All right. Board director comments.
Okay.
You all have a copy of the governance handbook. Or the COC book. Please read through it. We've seen it before, but go through it, see if there's any modifications, additions, questions, all of that, just kind of as a refresher. We can address it at our next meeting.
So yeah, November meeting, we'll talk about board governance handbook. You also have 5 policies as a first reading. So like we're exciting. Cell phones, all homework, or no, cell phones, freedom of expression, AI.
Future board agenda items. All right. If you guys have nothing else, I will adjourn our meeting at 8:03.